Hannah Murray. TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. Joining us on the line now is Sunna Van Kampen. He's the founder of Tonic Health, which aims to tackle the UK's nutrient deficiency crisis driven by UPFs with real nutrition without the junk. Tonic is the world's most followed nutrition brand and is the UK's fastest growing vitamin brand, stocked in every major retailer in the UK. His book, The Good, the Bad and the Healthy, shows you how to make smarter daily choices from what's in your fridge to what's in your bathroom cabinet. Welcome to the show, Sunna.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for a lovely introduction.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us. And what an amazing kind of crusade you're going on. How did all of this start?
It was back. I used to work in the city of London and I was getting 4 or 5 colds every single winter. And people started asking me, well, why? What? Weren't you just ill last month? What's going on? And so that was the kind of turning point for me to question my own body's health. I played sport. I ate what I thought was a healthy diet, eating lots of protein, going to the gym, and realized basically I wasn't nourishing my body. I was eating, chicken breast and rocket salad to stay fit and look good. But physically, I wasn't giving my body any nourishment, which meant my immune system wasn't functioning properly. And then I realized this whole world of micronutrients was out there that never gets talked about, right? Everyone talks about proteins, fats and carbs, but no one talks about the vitamins and the minerals that actually fuel our organs and are required for every organ in our body to function properly. So that's kind of what started me on it. And then my wife, Anya, she also was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis several years later, and then was, it was a condition that you're meant to live with for the rest of your life and take steroids. And I just refused to believe that that was the only way forward. And through about 18 months of trial and error and reading every study going, we managed to cure her ulcerative colitis through proper nutrition and diet as well. So that was where my health kind of journey began. And then I began setting up Tonic, the vitamin business. Amazing.
So do you think a lot of people really underestimate nutrition and just kind of see it as you initially saw it, the importance of protein and carbs and things like that, and don't really understand the benefits that are out there?
100%. I mean, I think on one hand, there's a myth in the UK where people go, oh, do vitamins even work? Is it just expensive urine? And that obviously needs to be dispelled with the fact that we actually die if we don't get enough nutrition. It's that fundamental to our body, right? Scurvy, rickets, these major disease issues if you don't get enough nutrition. So super fundamental. And then in addition to that, you've got this ultra processed food environment where we've created where now over 60% of our diet is ultra processed food. And everyone goes, well, it's bad for calories and it's got all these chemical additions that we don't know what they do in the body. But actually, one of the most missed problems with ultra-processed food is that it's all got one thing in common, which is low in nutrition. So it's fundamentally wheat and low in nutrients. So we are not getting enough nutrients as adults in general, and it's getting worse.
Yeah, it is shocking, actually, ultra processed foods and also understanding exactly what that means. I think a lot of people might just think, things that are in tins or maybe even ready meals or just think about a couple of things. Oh, yeah, they're ultra processed food. Well, I don't eat anything like that, without realizing how many things might be in their cupboards or even in their fridges that do come under the banner of ultra processed foods.
Yeah, exactly. But, I think a lot of scientists and academics and food industry experts and companies can try and argue the semantics and go, well, is it that chemical or is it this additive? And the reality is that's not what we need to focus on right now, because it's nigh on impossible to prove which additive made which health issue in the body. But what's clear is we are all eating too many calories. On average, not everyone, obviously, but on average, we're all eating too many calories and we're all not getting enough nutrition. And if we just fix those two ends of the spectrum, everyone's health will be in a much better place. And we don't need to worry about the technical definition of what an ultra-processed food is, because fundamentally, we are nutrivores. We need nutrition in our body for it to function properly. And if you look at the UK's leading ready meal is, a microwave chicken tikka masala. Well, it's just rice and chicken and a bit of sauce. There are no vegetables in there. There's hardly any chicken because it's, a cheap microwave meal. And the nutrient content of that meal is incredibly low. Now, the ultra processing and the fact that it's in plastic and you're microwaving it in plastic and there's potential microplastics and maybe there's some additives in there, like these are all detail which do really matter. But the general population, I don't think, need to concern themselves with that. They just need to eat real food.
Yeah. So going back to basics then, what is nutrition? What does nutrition mean to you? Where should people start if they're thinking, okay, I want to eat better food?
Well, listen, nutrition is everything. It's fundamental. Nutrition to me is why I sit down and eat food, right? It's that simple. I don't eat food because I'm hungry. You eat food because your body is asking for nutrition. And we've tried to boil it down into calories, which then totally ignore the nutrient content and what a food can do for you. So that doesn't work either. But, if we're looking for where should people start, the whole book, The Good, the Bad and the Healthy, it's all about making it so simple for people that you can all start today or tomorrow. You don't need to calorie count. You don't need to follow a meal plan. It is just about putting better things in your trolley or your shopping basket each week that are more nutritious, with less junk and additives and sugar, and taking a step in the right direction for you on your journey. And, it's as simple as if we ate meat, vegetables, dairy, you're healthy, right? Like you'll probably lose weight and you'll be healthy. It's that simple. You don't need a diet plan. But the problem is we don't do that enough. So if you're someone looking to start today, that's what all book's about. Every chapter, every section of the supermarket is covered to say, okay, well, if you eat a bag of crisps every day, why not just swap it for Walker's baked crisps? Because that will reduce your ultra processed fat content by about 50%, and it will put you in a step in the right direction. And then for me, it's about people just individually taking those steps in the right direction for where they are and stacking them over the course of a year to get to that point where then they're eating meat, dairy, vegetables, and that's the majority of your diet. It doesn't have to be 100%, but 80-20.
Yeah, interesting. And what are some of the biggest kind of myths that are out there to do with the fact that people are thinking they're doing something healthy or eating something healthy, and actually it's really not that great?
That's a great question.
Sorry, put you on the spot.
Yeah. Well, you're going to get me in trouble with, I think one of the biggest, fallacies of the last probably 5-6 years has been everyone chasing veganism as the ultimate of health and eating, more plants ultimately, because that is fundamentally, very good. Obviously, I advocate to eat plants and vegetables, but it doesn't actually focus on nutrition. And so what happened in the industry is that they started to create all these ultra processed foods in plant-based foods. So meat alternatives that were full of chemicals, full of additives, 32 ingredients. 32
Your son wanted to be part of the interview. It's all right.
My little toddler didn't quite understand what was going on.
No problem.
Apologies for that. But yeah, so essentially, you create a vegetarian or vegan plant-based meat alternative, but it's 32 ingredients, no nutrition, and it wasn't doing anything positive for people's bodies. So I'm all for eating plants and I don't want to slate vegans, but we've got to do it in the right way and focus about nutrition, because that's fundamentally where we're all going wrong.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting one. And with regards to the vitamins and minerals, how did you go about constructing them and working out with regards to the products you make and what people need that they either can't get from actual food or aren't getting enough of in actual food?
Yeah, so that's where, the science comes in. And luckily, nutrition and vitamins is something that's been studied extensively over the last 25 years, and our understanding of them has progressed rapidly. So every time we look to make a formula, we're actually first looking at where do people have the problems and where do people have the nutrient deficiencies, and how can we help them on that journey? And then we'll work with our in-house nutritionist and our formulations team, and we'll develop the right combination of nutrients to give people max strength doses without the junk. So what typically a vitamin company would do is they would look at the nutrient reference value on the back of pack where it says that 100% mark or your RDA, and they'll go, oh, well, we'll just put 100% of that in, and then we'll sell it and people will buy it and everyone's happy. But the problem is that metric's actually the minimum amount you need to prevent a deficiency disease. So that's where the government are setting legislation around trying to prevent population level deficiency, which is great if that's your issue. But for most people, we want optimal health, optimal energy, optimal immunity. And we look at the science, and there's a massive difference between the RDA and the optimal amount you should be consuming in a day to feel all those major benefits. And that's where we will always push the doses to the max and be the strongest vitamin company in the market, because we want you to feel the real benefits of good nutrition and know how wonderful they can be.
So should everybody be taking the same minerals and vitamins every day and the same amount, or do you need to, does it depend on people's health and what food they're eating?
Listen, it 100% depends on what you're eating and what you're consuming. And, you know, people will always say, well, can't you just get everything you need with a balanced diet? And you can absolutely do that 100%. And I say, look, if you need vitamins and you want to take them, well, ours, I believe, are the strongest and the cleanest. But if you have a fantastic diet and you think you're fine, that's great. The reality is, though, 3/4 of the UK don't get enough nutrition from their diet. It's quite a big number. And so when I say, yes, you can do blood tests, you can get tests online, you can do the finger pricks at home, and you can get full panels done of your nutrient status, and then you can buy vitamins in relation to your own biomarkers, 100%, but that's actually quite expensive and quite hard to do for a lot of people. So what we try and do is develop our whole range just slightly more broadly than that and say, well, if you're struggling with energy, here's our energy and hydration. If you're struggling with your sleep, here's our rest and recover. If you're struggling with, you know, feeling run down and catching colds all the time, here's our immunity and vitality proposition. So we try and take away all the complication. Tell us how you feel, what's going on in your body and where you could do with a little bit of extra help, and then shop one of our vitamins in relation to that. And whilst it won't be perfect and everyone is slightly different, because we have, 15 vitamins and minerals and plants in one formulation, you are more likely than not going to feel the benefits.
That's really good. And can people have, if people are experiencing or suffering from all of those things you mentioned, can they have all the different vitamins and minerals that you sell, or would that be too much for the body?
Well, so the concept of too much for the body, again, has always been looked at kind of like a population level and a very conservative, safe view. So people say, oh, you can take too much and then you overdose. But the demonstrated cases of vitamin toxicity are insanely high, as in you'd have to take 20 of your tablets every day consistently for like 3 to 6 months. So the reality of anyone overdosing is really low. But when you look at our range, everything is designed for those specific use cases, which means there's no kind of contraventions between them. So in our rest and recover, you'll get 300 milligrams of magnesium, but then there is no magnesium in our immunity product. So you can take them both together and they won't kind of overdose you in any way.
Okay. And a couple of points in the book that you talk about that I wanted to ask you about. Oils. Which oils are actually safe to cook with and which to ditch? Because we hear a lot about this, and we're in the Mediterranean, so obviously olive oil, we get a lot of that here, and we're led to believe that olive oil is really healthy. But do you need to be careful when cooking with it?
No. So quite recently, in the last, I'd say 2 years, there was a study that came out which showed the polyphenol content of extra virgin olive oil actually protected olive oil and protected the food from damage when heating. So the recommendation has actually changed that you can 100% cook with olive oil, no problem. You don't need to worry about the smoke point. And, I always say, we know from the Mediterranean diet, like you say, olive oil is pretty much the healthiest oil out there for us. And if you can afford it, that's what you should be using. as much as you possibly can. That's the way I look at oil. You know, I'm not here to prove the science on whether seed oils are good or bad and which direction people should go in. In the book, I can't settle the debate. I'm not the scientist. I'm not doing the work. But we know seed oils are a very ultra-processed oil, which use chemicals like hexane in their processing and are very nutrient devoid. So going back to the point of you want to get more nutrition in your diet, not less, extra virgin olive oil, really nutritious, high in polyphenols. Seed oils, ultra-processed, super low in nutrition. So that's why I say to my followers and my community, best go with extra virgin oil and traditional oils rather than seed oils.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Because you'd think, without knowing what you said or without reading any advice on the matter, you'd think that a seed oil would be really good for you because seeds are really good for you.
Absolutely right. I mean, you know, what's wrong with a sunflower seed, right? Like I eat sunflower seeds on my breakfast. They're in my granola every morning. So why is seed oil so bad? Well, the reality is if you take a handful of seed oils and try and crush them up, they're not actually that oily. So the amount of processing and work the industry goes through to get all that oil out of them is the problem, not the seed is.
Yeah. You also talk about egg yolks and the colour of the egg yolk and why that matters. I'm interested to know what colour should our egg yolks be or not be?
Well, it's quite a nuanced thing that got me in trouble, not in trouble, but, you know, the Daily Mail wrote a big article on me about talking about egg yolks because, yes, the traditional dark orange yolk typically conveys a more healthy chicken and therefore more nutrition in the yolk. But what's happened is the industry with brands, they have cottoned on to the fact that everyone now loves that dark orange yolk on their eggs on the weekend. And so they've started feeding the chickens turmeric and marigold and things that start then not artificially because it's all natural, but you know it twists the color of the yolk in a way that, and then they overcharge you for those eggs because they look amazing.
That's terrible. That's both really smart and clever and also really evil at the same time.
Exactly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it from a health perspective. Like if you just want the color for your Instagram, fine, go do it. But you can get cheaper and healthier eggs that are free range organic eggs are cheaper and healthier than these eggs in questions that color themselves.
Yes.
So yeah, very nutritious, very healthy. You can eat as many eggs as you want. There's no limit on it anymore. The science is involved. But yeah, just always go for free range organic if you want the best vitamin D and omega-3 content.
Okay. And one more question about milk. Which milk swap will cut 3 kilos of sugar a year? Again, that's been a big boom recently going along with the whole vegan thing, all the plant-based milks that are now available. What are your thoughts on milk then?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's another kind of trend that happened. Everyone moved to oat milk and then didn't realize that actually oats are incredibly high glycemic index. And oat milk in particular kind of just concentrates all those sugary starches in the oats into the milk. So in a latte, you can be having upwards of, 3 teaspoons of sugar just from the oat milk, right? Where when you actually just have whole milk, unhomogenized whole dairy milk, yes, there's lactose in there, but the lactose is kind of protected in a whole food in a way that your body can process it and deal with it much more so because there's good fats in there and everything else that comes with it than just a very sugary oat milk, essentially. So that's one I always say, try and buy whole milk. And if you're plant-based, that's fine. But from a health perspective, I would always recommend almond milk because it's much lower in sugar content.
Okay. Interesting. Well, if people want to learn more, they should definitely get a copy of your book, The Good, the Bad and the Healthy. It's available on our website, TRE.radio, in the bookshop section. And it's by Sunna Van Kampen, who we've been chatting with today. Sunna, thank you so much for joining us. Really great to chat with you.
Thank you.